Hey, what's up, Pro Tools fans? In this video, I'm going to show you my top 4 secret weapons for mixing metal in Pro Tools. Now, my name's Jordan Valeriot. I've been a producer engineer for about 10 years, worked with bands like Silverstein, Neck Deep, Forevermore, Counterparts, Intervals, many others in this scene, and there are a handful of stock plugins that come just by default for free in Pro Tools that I use on basically every single mix. So I'm going to show you 4 of these secret weapons in this video and demonstrate how to use them for your hardcore metal heavy mixes. So here's a mix I did for the band Intervals. Let's just dive right into the first plugin on the list, which is the Digi Expander Gate that comes with Pro Tools. So here it is. And I like to use this a lot on drums, so mostly snare and toms. And in this mix, I'll show you how I'm using it on the toms. Now, this is basically a straightforward gate, but it has a powerful sidechain feature with an EQ built in, and it's a big time saver. And I'll be honest, I used to have to chop out, all the dead space in between tom hits by hand. Like, for example, we've got this tom hit right here in the rack tom. So I would go through painstakingly, every single track and, basically cut out, delete, or mute, all the dead space in between tom hits and, fade them out, all that stuff. Once I started using this plugin, I don't do that anymore. And that's because of how powerful this sidechain is. So let's check out this rack tom. So I always start with the simple gate setting here, and then I just adjust to taste basically with the release time and the threshold. So I bring the threshold down to where it's going to open the gate for the tom hit. Pretty simple. I'm attenuating by 25 dB here, so not cutting out all the bleed completely, but pretty close. But what is the most important feature of this plugin for me, like I said, is this side chain. So I put these in here. And notice how I've got a high pass filter here all the way down to 1K. So that basically means that the gate is only listening to the frequencies that are within these filters. So it's ignoring everything above 1K and below 76 Hertz. So basically that means that all of the bleed that's coming through this tom mic, anything that's above 1K, so think about snare, cymbals, any transients above 1K, the gate is going to ignore that. It's also going to ignore any sub bumps, so maybe some kick bleed. So the gate's not going to open for those frequency ranges when it exceeds the threshold. So basically what that means is that you can bring your threshold down lower so that you're going to capture all of those tom hits, because the gate's only going to open in that frequency range, say between 100 Hertz and 1K, where all of that kind of low and low mid energy actually comes from the toms, while ignoring all the rest of the bleed. So if we hit this little speaker button, you can hear what the gate's actually listening to. If we take it out, listen to how much high-end bleed and snare bleed is coming in here. But I want the gate to ignore that. It's just going to hear this. And on a raw tom recording, all of the meat of that sound is going to be in that mid-range, from, like I said, 100 up to 1K. So for rack tom and floor tom, you can just use this feature to filter all of that out. And honestly, 99% of songs I work on, I can get the gate to literally open and close perfectly on tom hits, even if there's a ton of snare bleed, because I can just filter out the top end from the gate and just open it when I need to. Works the same on snares. I just filter out the low end instead so that the kick bleed isn't going to open up the snare gate. So that's plugin number 1 that I use all the time on my heavy mixes. Now, plugin number 2 I'm going to show you is the built-in delay plugin that comes with Pro Tools. They had like a short, medium, long, extra long delay. Now it's all thrown into the Mod Delay 3 plugin, where you can use basically any delay length. And you can see on all of my effects returns here, I'm using this a bunch of times. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of delays I'm using this same plugin for. And the reason I like this is because, it's just so simple. It's just a simple delay. If you want echo, just, throw up this plugin, choose whether you want, half note, quarter note, eighth note. You can even have a low pass filter built in, which really helps you get kind of that lo-fi sound out of your delay, which I also really like. And you can also make it stereo, so you can feed it a mono input and then output a stereo signal, which I do for vocals. First, let me show you how I use this on guitar. So let's check out the guitar solo here. So I'm sending to this delay track. So I've just got it set for the left side being eighth notes and the right side being quarter notes, so it gives me a nice stereo spread on the delay. And then I'm using the low pass filter at 4.5K just to make the delay repeats that are echoing, a little bit darker, so it sounds kind of set back from the main tone. So I use this on like all of my lead guitar tracks, whether it's a quarter note, eighth note, just depends on the song. But this plugin has everything I need pretty much for delays. Now I'm also using this on vocals. So I've got a very short stereo delay that I use on all my vocal tracks. A distant vision, so you're hearing a couple here. But here's my short stereo delay. And I use that almost in place of a reverb, so it's just super short, 180 milliseconds on the left, 220 on the right, engaging the filter again to get rid of the S's, and that's my go-to stereo delay for vocals. And then sometimes I'll also use a longer delay there. And like you heard, there's also what's called a throw delay, which is basically just a really long echo. So check this out. It's mixed a little low, but I'll solo it. Hear that echo on the word distant. Again, same plugin. This time it's just set to a half note. So 2 beats, that's when it echoes, and I got a longer feedback time here. And again, it's just so easy to set the delay times with this plugin. Just hit the button, sync it up to the tempo. Super quick and easy, and that delay plugin is part of all of my mixes used on guitar, vocals, and any other instrument I need delay on as well. So that's Mod Delay, plugin number 2 on my secret weapon Avid plugin list. Okay, number 3 is going to be DVerb. So even though there's tons of awesome reverb plugins out there, I still use DVerb quite a lot, especially when I want a specific reverb effect. So something that I really want to stand out in the mix. And I find DVerb has this cool, almost like gritty vibe where, I really want it to be heard in the mix as like a special effect. I always turn to DVerb for that. So listen in the verse here to this snare hit that I'm using to just give it a really huge, basically like snare explosion effect. I really like using DVerb for that. So you hear that big echo, it's just on that one snare hit there. So this is using DVerb with the church setting, using the large church, 9-second delay, a little bit of a pre-delay, and using the low pass filter to make it darker so it sounds a little grittier. And then you can even follow this up with another EQ to filter it more if you want. But like I said, for these kind of like big, massive snare explosions, I'm always turning to DVerb with the church setting. I find it works really well for that kind of snare effect. And sometimes I can even combine that with the mod delay that I just showed you with a little bit of a long echo on it fed into this reverb with the church setting can be a really, really cool effect as well. So, don't overlook this reverb plugin just because it comes with the DAW. It's actually very useful, and all these other settings are great too. The hall's pretty good, the rooms are good, and the non-linear is basically like a gated reverb that I've used a lot as well on snares. So check this out, especially for really big kind of dramatic reverb effects in your mixes. All right, for the last plugin, would you believe that just a stock Pro Tools plugin is making up a lot of the core bass tone of this record? Well, it's true. The Sansamp plugin here is a definite go-to. It's probably been that way for over 10 years now for my mixing, and it's just amazing on bass DIs. And I actually own, a Sansamp pedal as well, and this plugin, I use them interchangeably. So sometimes I'll track through the pedal, sometimes I'll just track a DI, and I'll use the plugin instead. So that's what happened on this particular mix. So I've got it on the bass DI track. So here's what the bass DI sounds like without the Sansamp plugin. Now with the Sansamp plugin, it's like instant metal, hardcore bass tone, rock bass tone. And when I load up this plugin, I have it automatically set to use the SVT preset. So again, this comes with Pro Tools. It's under Sansamp Factory, SVT. That's always the go-to starting point. And then you can make it dirtier or cleaner if you want. So in this mix, I've got like a fairly clean Sansamp sound. And this other track here that's mixed in is just a printed down version of a more distorted Sansamp sound. and I mix those together. So this Sansamp plugin, honestly, it's as good as the hardware units. I use it all the time. You know, even though, like I said, I have the pedal, if I get sent a bass CI track, you know, that wasn't tracked with Sansamp or anything like that, I'll just use the plugin in the final mix, just like I did here for intervals. And remember, it's the SVT preset as a starting point, and just use your preamp and drive knobs here to basically control the amount of distortion you get on it. It's also not uncommon for me to just take a single bass CI track, put a clean Sansamp sound like this, and then duplicate that, have the same plugin on, and just crank the preamp and the drive. And then mix that in with the cleaner Sansamp sound to have more of a distorted, kind of a parallel distorted sound on the bass. So that Sansamp plugin, you know, it's a must use if you're a Pro Tools user working on metal, hardcore, and rock. There are a lot of other DAWs that don't have a great Sansamp plugin like this, and it's free. It comes with Pro Tools, so make use of it. It's been a long time favorite for me mixing this sort of music. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this video. So to recap, my top 4 secret weapon plugins included in Pro Tools are the Digi gate and expander with the built-in filters, the mod delay plugin for all of my timed delays for vocals, guitars, lots of other instruments as well, DVerb for a really awesome kind of gritty, special effects, explosive snare sound, and then the Sansamp PSA plugin for instant hardcore metal bass tone. If you enjoyed this video, and if you frequently work on heavy music, hardcore, rock, metal, check out my YouTube channel at Hardcore Music Studio. And you can also find me at hardcoremusicstudio.com. I've got a free metal recording guide there for you if you want to sign up to my email list. And that's where I teach you how to take your metal, hardcore recordings and mixes, take them out of kind of that embarrassing basement demo land, get them sounding more professional, more label quality to stand up and compete with pro mixes. So again, that's hardcoremusicstudio.com. I'm Jordan. Thanks for watching.